I've witnessed a dramatic underwater discovery off India's northwest coast. Ancient cities, 4,000 years older than any others so far discovered. Artifacts date the site to 9,000 years ago, and they could prove the existence of a lost urban civilization that I've been looking for 10 years. In Taiwan, I've dived on an underwater wall that's clearly man-made and built when this part of the world was dry land and joined to mainland China. In Japan, too, I've come across an amazing structure that was last completely above water 10,000 years ago. If it is man-made, it's further proof for the existence of civilized peoples when historians and archaeologists say that none existed. I've been called one of the lunatic fringe for advocating unorthodox theories, but some experts welcome new angles of attack on old problems.
If this monument would be man-made totally or in part, it would be a very, very great finding, and comparable maybe to well-known monuments like, let's say, Stonehenge.
Some of the best discoveries are the lunatic fringe. The problem with scholars is they get like this, and that's why I say my students ask better questions than the archaeologists do.
My underwater adventures start in Japan, where the tiny island of Yonaguni marks the southern tip of the Ryukyu chain of islands. What I want to do in Japan is to find out if the underwater structures at Yonaguni are man-made, and who built them, because its builders might have a connection with the lost civilizations whose traces I've been following in other parts of the globe. I first heard of the Yonaguni mystery on a visit to Japan in 1996. I'd just published a book which argued the case for a lost civilization. And quite a few Japanese came up to me at lectures and said, did I know that there were structures underwater off the island of Yonaguni? Then I was shown photographs. I became intrigued. I decided that I had to learn to dive in order to see them. To even begin to make my case, I need scientific evidence of the effects of sea level rise in this part of the Pacific. Huge tracts of land were inundated in the region at the end of the Ice Age, as striking new research now shows.
The orange areas show the part of the land that was exposed about 20,000 years ago.
Dr. Glenn Milne of Durham University in the north of England is a world expert on sea level rise at the end of the Ice Age.
If you take a look at Japan up here, the North Island was connected to the mainland. All that area was flooded within about 10,000 years.
Where you see the dramatic changes are up here. We're looking at a completely filled-in sea. But the question that studies of sea level rise can't answer is who, if anyone, lived here 10,000 years ago, and what were they capable of doing? So I really began to take Yonaguni seriously when I found that there were people in Japan at the time of the great floods at the end of the Ice Age. Archaeologists are uncovering a people with amazing artistic and technical skills, in the right place at the right time to have carved the structure that's now underwater. But they've been dismissed as primitives, incapable of such tasks. My first step is to find out whether there's anything on land in any way similar to the underwater structures of Yonaguni. It turns out that there are plenty to choose from. I'm in the Asuka Valley in central Japan to see this megalithic burial chamber called Ishibutai. Megalithic sites, made from large stones, are normally associated with ancient Europe, like Stonehenge in England, Typically, they're thousands of years old. Some of the large stones used here dwarf anything used at Stonehenge. One weighs almost 100 tons and was brought from 10 miles away. This wonderful megalithic chamber of Ishibutai is a mystery in itself. But there's a bigger mystery surrounding all structures like this in Japan. How old are they? Generally, archaeologists put these structures at about the 7th century AD. And they may well be right. But I think there's more to the story. I want to find out just how far back into prehistory it's possible to trace such stone carving skills. To see if I can connect Japan's megalithic monuments with the mysterious sites I found underwater. My first step is to find out whether there's anything on land in any way similar to the underwater structures of Yonaguni. To see if I can connect Japan's megalithic monuments with the mysterious sites I found underwater.
It's absolutely unique to that island.
But the whole quest would be pointless if Yonaguni's just a freak natural rock outcrop. That's why I've invited the German geologist Wolf Wichmann to dive with me. He's reported in Der Spiegel magazine that the Yonaguni structure is 100% natural. If he's right, I'm wasting my time.
Let's ascend the sheer wall in front of the main terrace.
In our first dive, I plan to show Wolf several distinct areas of the Yonaguni structure at what's called Iseki Point.
We may be lucky today, but in order to get back to this...
For ease of identification, I've given each of them names. The pool, the main terrace, the twin megaliths, the turtle, and so on.
If the pool is suffering from too much swell...
I see it's near the surface.
It's very near the surface. It's in 5 meters or less. We'll then switch that to the turtle.
We stick pretty much to plan, descending at once to what looks like a flat pathway running along the base of the main structure at a depth of about 85 feet. From there, I lead the way up the sheer south face of the structure. 50 feet beneath the waves, we come to a stone platform that directly overlooks the pathway. Wolf investigates a set of huge geometrical steps which tower above us. It looks as if immense quantities of rock must have been removed from the entire platform in order to expose these steps. We swim past another series of further terraces to the upper platform of the structure in just 15 feet of water. We make it eventually to the structure that I call the pool, a basin in the surface of the rock which is curved and weathered on one side, clean-edged and angular on the other. I think these 3 holes were originally man-made and much shallower, then later widened and deepened by natural potholing processes.